Building dreams on the Young Money Show, where entrepreneurial dreams become a reality.
There's no losing, only learning. There's no failure, only opportunities. And there's no problems, only solutions. So to me, what failure is the mother of all success. All it can do is learn and come back bigger, better, stronger. Because all it's going to do is lead you in the right direction. See, if you're always winning, then you don't really understand what it is to win. You got to take those losses. You got to take those hits. There's got to be the valleys, the peaks, the ups, the downs. When it does happen, you go, wow, qué rico.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Taku David, and we are back for another season of the Young Money Show in 2022, where we've got a jam-packed schedule of exciting young entrepreneurs who are making a change in the world, a change in their lives every day by committing to their goals and making an impact in their specific field. Today, I'm joined by Gilbert Mungwiro and Gilson Mungwiro, who are the twins that are in charge of Dial a Drink Zimbabwe. Thank you guys for coming through to the studio and being our first guest for the year.
Sure, man. Thanks for having us here, man.
No, pleasure to have you on board. First thing I'll ask you, how was December?
December was quite good, eh? Not the same as before, but we did okay.
Obviously, in your industry, you guys are suppliers of drinks and you do drink distributions. December being a very festive period, I imagine that's where you would have a lot of your business.
Exactly. But now with COVID being around with the curfews, we didn't get as much as we would on a normal year.
December's usually a very big thing because everyone's in a spending mood. But I'm pretty sure last year,
people couldn't travel even. So there was a lot of people who were not spending.
Key December, they call it.
Exactly.
But you guys, really, we're talking a little bit about COVID. I heard you mentioning COVID. I think you started this business at a time before the COVID advent, and before we've seen all these delivery businesses sprouting up, these drinks delivery businesses sprouting up, and you almost kind of predicted the future in this game by entering the space before there was really such a buzz about it. What motivated you to innovate in this way and create a product that would transcend into the future?
Okay, I'd say what was the main motivator was when you're just a young guy, just come out of college and you're looking to set onto something, and the job market in Zim was terrible at the time, and you're looking for that gap in the market where if I take on this gap and fill it up with something, it's going to go wild. They always say an idea is not always as clear in the beginning. You have it, but it's not so clear until you actually take on it, and then you start to see the path. You know what I mean? Funny story is, one day me and him were outside this liquor store having a drink with my dad and his best friend, and then the liquor store closed at 8 o'clock, and there was a bunch of people knocking on the door. Can we get some drinks? Can we get some drinks? Please open, please open, please open. And then that's when that light bulb at the moment. Yeah, you're like, okay, so these guys need some sort of service. What can we do? And then we just got into research and what type of service can we offer these guys? And then that's
funny thing is, we actually did I don't know if you call it a pilot run in uni, something very similar, just delivering drinks. Nothing we pursued for profit or for money for anything, but just for the fun of it. So we also used that to say, listen, it can be something, it can be done, and let's research, let's start something. Then we started asking questions, to the right people, and we rolled out.
So I see, you're saying you started this in university, just doing pilot runs, just for the fun of it. So the business savvy has always been within you guys. What is it about your upbringing, about your background, that has sort of prepared you to enter this space?
Growing up, we've pretty much always been around beverages. Our dad had a chain of nightclubs, beverage stores, shops, pretty much. So being a father, you want your kids around your businesses, you want them to see where the money's coming from, how you work for it. So he pretty much involved us in the nitty-gritties of how to handle a shop, basically. So the background of those beverages, and also us being party animals at the time
at the
time, not anymore. At the time, it helped us to navigate ourselves into this space.
Wow, no, that's interesting. And you guys have really brought about the family aspect. I see, your brothers talking about working with each other, having been trained by your dad in business, and there's that old adage that says keep your money and your business completely separated. I think that's Biggie Smalls, if I'm not mistaken. How have you been able to work, as brothers, run a business successfully? I'm sure, from time to time there's challenges or you don't see eye to eye. How have you been able to keep the business afloat, keep your relationship afloat as well, while conducting the business professionally?
To answer you, right, it's very true. There's complications when you work with family. It's well known over that family always want favors, or they take money when they're not supposed to take money, stuff like that, and sometimes you get problems, etc. But with us, we've had a couple challenges, yes, back and forth. The fact that we're twin brothers and being brothers, makes it a bit different from working with another maybe distant family member, if I should say, because ultimately we're not trying to put each other down. Being brothers, you want to see him successful, he wants to see me successful, and if this is practically your first baby, you're the business, you just want to do your best to take care of it and make sure that it does well. One of also the key factors in this as well is, as kids, we always used to argue over things. We never completely agreed on anything, right? At the time it seemed like we're always fighting, but then take that a couple of years later and into the business, what it actually does for us is it allows us to bounce ideas. So if I say something and
and he argues against my point, he's going to bring up something I didn't think of. And then now I'm thinking, okay, wait, there's a different angle to this. And then he's also thinking, but he said this, so how can we bring whatever point that is and make sure that it benefits the business and ultimately benefits us as brothers?
Is this the first business you run together? Have you had something you've tried before that's,
we've
failed?
tried a lot of things.
We've tried a lot of things that failed.
The culture in Zim, or just coming out of school, was you want to go with whatever is popular at the time. So we've tried chickens at some point, that failed. We did sack potato, terrible failure. We tried a number of other things, man, and then when we struck this, it felt right. When something you're doing and then it feels like, no, I should pursue this, because this just didn't just start by doing well. We just faced a couple of challenges as well, but it felt like this is the thing we should be doing. So yeah.
And what I've noticed, as a consumer of your product from time to time, is that during COVID there've been a couple of, we mentioned this slightly, there's been a couple of businesses that have bubbled up in similar spaces yourselves, but you remain a dominant brand in the market. And how have you been able to stay ahead of the competition for such a long time as well? I've been seeing you guys around for a long time. How have you been able to keep your brand fresh and top of mind?
Okay, so one of the key points there to note that I think a lot of customers have actually managed to appreciate is, unlike the competitors that are coming through, we are not directly selling the product is a result of the service. So what we're selling to the customer is the service that we're bringing. So what we have to do now to stay on top is to make sure that our service is nothing short of excellent, right? We do have our shortcomings. Sometimes orders are late. When we're overwhelmed, it does happen. But we try ultimately to keep that at a certain percentage. It shouldn't go over, if it's a month, we put it like 6% of our failure rates in terms of delivery. If we go above that, then we are not doing our work properly. So we try and keep that service at the top. We also employ a very good R&D person, research and development. So we're always on the net searching for better ways to improve our service.
That's great, and I like that you have a scientific approach to it as well. Keeping the metrics in mind that
exactly.
These are the standards that we can perform within, and have some leeway for certain things that do happen in business. You did speak about products, and I note that you guys actually do have a couple of international distributorship deals. How have you been able to get your business in a position whereby you're able to secure these types of deals with international brands as a local company?
Key thing that has helped much is networking. We've had the privilege of just rubbing shoulders with some influential people and guys that if you have a chat with them, share ideas, that open spaces and doors for you before we even get to the international deals. Locally as well, we've worked with the late Genius Kinimbi. When he did his All White with Davido, we met a couple people there that also were interested in our idea and our business. We've got a couple of local distributors that we're working with as well that are signed to international alcohol brands.
So some of these guys, once we've spoken to them and we've addressed our kind of business, they say, okay guys, there's an opportunity in this country overseas, there's an opportunity there, what can you guys do for us? And then that's when they say, okay, there's a wine brand in Italy, there's a Prosecco in this country, there's a vodka in France, do you guys want to be involved? Do you want to take part in distribution? What can we do? How can we help you guys do what you want to do? And then we would mention names, but it might be tricky for our competitors. So there's people in the international space that have contacted us directly and said, we've got this product that we want to put on the Zim market. To launch this product, we're going to have, I'll just name one, WizKid, to come and do a launch for this product. Here's his tour manager. Work together. I'm giving you guys the product. Do what you have to do. And once you've secured that, and then they're in that same circle, like you said, networking. Then you get in touch with the next person. I've got this drink. I've got this. Can I give it to you? And that's what has put us in that space.
It's Word on the Street, and this is the segment where we talk to young Zimbabweans and find out how they feel about current affairs issues that are rocking our nation. Hey, how you doing, my man?
Good, how are you?
Grand. I'm Taco David from The Young Money Show. I just wanted to get your name.
Sebastian,
I got a simple question for you.
Yeah.
Have you ever used a delivery service in Zimbabwe?
Yeah, once.
Yeah. And how was that experience for you?
Quite terrible actually. The food came late and it was quite cold.
Hey, this is Roy. Yes, I've used delivery services a couple of times, and I must say most experiences have been quite good. Yeah, cheers.
Saka Rasta, nachida kubvunza munonzani?
Ndonzi Tapiwa Mdara.
Wakamboshandisa delivery service iri muZimbabwe?
Delivery, ndisati baba, ndisati.
Hausati? Kuti hauziwi nazvo kana kuti hausati wangoshandisa?
Auna wangu unogara Mfakozi. Maya, handimuzivi.
Seeing as you're getting these international organizations that are interested in participating in our economy, our market, how viable is the Zimbabwean market for stakeholders who would actually like to enter this market? If I have my product or if I'm planning on setting up a manufacturing plant for this type of product, how viable is that market?
We'll go back to numbers on that one, because with this sort of arrangement, there's a niche. In Zim, the broader part of it, they won't exactly accommodate it. But then there's that niche that say, okay, I'm looking for something unique, and they'll tell you, can you find this product for me? And when you do your research and look into the markets outside, where they tell you, guys, I was living in London for 5 years and this is the wine I was drinking. Can you get it for me? Right? And then when you dig deeper and you find you can actually source it through 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not a lot of people that want it. So the demand is not so much, but the few that can, they can actually sustain you. In a sense, it is viable, but you have to identify that market. I don't know if that actually answers.
So you got to go in with the plan.
Yeah, with the plan, and you have to be willing to take the risk.
It's more long term. You know, if you're looking at a specific brand or product, right? Setting up a plant, like you asked, it's a lot of work that you need to go through. You've got barriers, serious barriers. You want to set up a plant here. I mean, the biggest plant we've got is Delta, and if you're going to bring a competitor for Coca-Cola or for Delta, you're going to be fighting serious battles. That's, I think, challenges for people that want to come in and do that. But what we've done or provided for those people is, listen, we can push your product on the Zim market. We can do launches, we can do activations, we can do our best to make sure your product is what gets known. People get to try it and they like it and they buy it.
Wow, that's great, guys. You're talking about long term. What are the prospects of your business in the future? What can we look forward to from you guys in 5 years, 6 years?
There's quite a bit actually that we're working on. I'll just run through a little bit of it. So we're working on our own kind of beverage, which is something that's also going to get into the plant thing that he's talking about. There's a partner we have in the UK that's helping us with that. And once we've created this beverage of ours, we're trying to start on with the southern region of Africa and put it across and see how it goes, which it should do well with what we've been told and what our advisors, what they're saying. The other thing also, we're also trying to get the service into different towns of this country, the cities, and then once we are dominant enough in this country, we're going to take the delivery service into the neighboring countries as well. There are services in those countries, some of them, but logistics, and some of them aren't as aggressive as we would be wanting to see them doing, So we are sort of like coming at this with all that we have, you know what I mean? So it's sort of different when someone's just doing it to get a bit of change. We're looking at taking this thing to a whole different level. So in the next couple of years or so, you should see it will probably not be under the same Dial Drink, but it would have been a birth child of Dial Drink.
Jacked up young guys like you, I'm sure you have people who you look up to in the business space. Do you mind sharing who do you look up to, and whether it's a local person, whether it's on international, who do you look up to, whose business model or way of doing business would you find inspiring in how you conduct yourself?
I've actually asked myself that question enough times before, and it's a very difficult one, So right now, I would say there's one distributor in the country that I would actually say has been of great influence somehow, sort of a mentor to speak. His name is Chetan. I'm sure a lot of people know him. We've worked with other people before that have also helped us to achieve our certain goals. And so, like I said, the reason why I say it's difficult is because it's not like you look up to them per se, but you appreciate their input so much that you actually say, okay, fine, if I could get to this level and go beyond that, then I would have done a great job. But in terms of running a business, it cannot be anyone other than my father, because he has actually literally put us on everything that we know about business. So he would be the person I'd say I look up to achieving what he has done and what he has gone to accomplish before. After that,
that's brilliant. Standing on the shoulders of giants. I always say that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and if there's someone that you can learn from who's close to you like your father, then by all means learn as much as you can.
Exactly, 100%.
What I'd like to know, obviously I imagine it hasn't all been smooth sailing. At some point there must have been some challenge, or some day when you woke up and you said, you know what, let's solve this thing. Tell me, maybe one experience or one time where things went down.
Yeah, man. Never got to a point where I would say let's quit it or let's sell it, but it's gotten difficult at some point, especially in the early days when you haven't seen anything in terms of return from what you're putting into your business or your idea. The biggest negative we would get, believe it or not, were our parents to begin with. Why I say that is because, like any African parent, they want to see you do well. You've come out of college, you've got a degree, you're sitting at home, and you're talking about selling drinks, and they, you're like, it's gonna work out at some point, and you don't have that much traction as yet, so you're not getting the money to show that it's gonna work out. After a while, when the wheels start turning, obviously they see that something's coming back, they start believing in a bit of your vision, you start getting their support, and then obviously once you start doing well, they now see, okay, so this is what you were working towards. But for me, off the top of my head, family negatives at first were kind of a challenge.
Yeah. Well done, guys. Never give up in your idea.
100%.
You're not always
keep it going. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same thing I would say to anyone that's trying to get something going, especially in this climate. I'll tell you, it's very difficult, and things will go wrong, things will go bad. But as long as you know what you're working towards and you actually see it, no one else will see it better than you do. So you have to just keep pushing. And I think there was a point when we were starting and we were looking for extra funding, and the MD for CBZ at the time says to us, listen guys, your idea is very nice, but stop going around looking for funding, because what's going to happen is you're going to approach the person with the money, but they won't be able to award you the funding. And then what do they do? As soon as you walk out, they pump money into that, and then next thing is just you leaving ZFM. It's not on the radio. Someone else is doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not always about having enough money. You start with what you have. You know, when we were starting off the deliveries, we were delivering with our personal cars, and there were fewer gasless at the time. You know, so we had to downgrade, start upgrading when things get better.
Do what's right for the business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Make sure the business is moving, is breathing, basically.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the show. You know, I think there's so much that people can look forward to from you guys, and so much that people can latch onto from your experience and the way you've been conducting yourselves in business. Just before we part, is there anything you'd like to share with yourselves 10 years ago? If you could speak to yourselves 10 years ago, what would you tell them right now?
Well, I'd say never quit, never give up, keep trying. You know, I believe anything and everything is a trial and error game. You know, if you try something, you fail, try again. You know, at the end of the day, just keep on trying. One day you'll hit, you won't miss, and it'll pay off.
Yeah, what he said.
Guys, that was Gilson and Gilbert Mungwiro, the founders of Dial Drink Zimbabwe. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Pleasure.
This has been the Young Money Show with Taku David. Tune in every Wednesday at 7:15, where we're going to be talking to more young people like Gilbert and Gilson. My name is Taku David, and I'm out.